How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about the Slumber Party Massacre from 1982. This is directed by Amy Holden Jones, stars Michelle Michaels and Michael Villana. I'm sorry, I'm never the best at pronouncing last names. And is produced by Roger Corman, hence the top here, Roger Corman's Cult Classics. I really love this line of films. This is actually, the complete collection's got all three films on one here, so yes, I will be talking about the sequels eventually. But anyway, let's jump into this movie. This movie is about a group of young girls. You get the main girl. Her parents are going out of town, so that prompts her to have a slumber party with her friends. She's a senior and almost graduating, so it's one good get-together with the gang. It might be one of the last, you know? So they have a sleepover, and unfortunately for her, it's on the news, but she doesn't notice. An escaped criminal is actually out. This is Russ Thorne. He is out. He'd been locked up for killing 5 people, and he's made his way to their town, and they're about to come onto a collision course. But yeah, he sees her pretty early, you know, steals one of her dolls out of the trash can, so you know he's targeting her. But then you get his fun scene, and it really establishes it early on. After following her to school, the driller killer ends up killing this telephone lady, and it's like these 2 young high school guys had just been hitting on her, and they look away for a second and she's dead, you know? And there is a nice little bit of humor and, you know, dark slasher humor in this, you know, where like they look away and someone dies, you know, there might be violence and it's just off screen and no one notices, you know? And why this isn't like a hilarious movie, those little touches of humor do help. But anyway, I don't know if he gets this from her van, or if he finds it somewhere else, or what. But after this point, he has his big old power drill. And this is a really cool weapon, you know. It's kind of like a chainsaw where it's one, you know, you can rev up and it spins and stuff. But it's cool and unique. Yeah, he becomes the driller killer, although maybe I should say a driller killer. There was, of course, the movie The Driller Killer from 1979, which this is unrelated to. And, of course, he wouldn't even be the only driller killer in this series of movies. It's a different killer in the next part. But we'll get to the next part when we get there. But anyway, he starts to pick off people, working his way back to the girl's house, and it becomes really what slashers do best. You know, people think, you know, slashers, oh, they're horror movies, people get spooked and die, but with slashers, it really does feel like a game, you know, where it's like, you look at all your people, where are they, what's the layout of this setting, and who's moving where, you know, and it really does play off that well. You get the girls in the slumber party, and then you get the house across the street, and that is a girl that was invited to the party, but she's kind of new to school, she didn't come in, and her younger sister, and they kind of have an idea what's going on. So you get the 2 houses across the street, the next door neighbor's involved a little bit, you get their garage and this cool little backyard with these weird swings, and you get to kind of see how the characters move around and how they survive. And once they're aware that they're in a horror movie, which is always one of these things, is how soon do the characters know they're in a horror movie. And this is a little earlier than most normally do it, but once they're in there, they're like, okay, we gotta strategize, who does what, how do we get out of here? And this really does work. This is, I think it's a little under 90 minutes, which keeps it really tight. You know, some slashers really waste time in the beginning, and to be fair, it does have some of that, but is really more establishing the characters' relationships. But once this gets going, it's a really tight slasher movie, and it really does, follow the rules of the game, who goes where, finds what, how do you survive. And it's not like this is a reinventing the wheel slasher movie, but it does a lot of stuff really, really well. And yeah, I really liked it. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it's a nice, tight slasher, and it's really good. Good gore, kills, and pacing and stuff. And I like the killer. Now, the thing is, around this time, you had several big, over-the-top, really memorable characters. Jason, the big hulking figure with the mask, and Freddy being really funny, and Chucky being insane. And he doesn't quite hit those levels, and when you compare it to that, it kind of sucks. But for what he is, because there's a lot of the maskless killer, that is just a guy, and his design's kind of cool with the red. I should have worn my red undershirt. I wore that in some videos. Red undershirt, denim, and his big drill. It's a cool design, but at the end of the day, he is just a guy, and it's not as, crazy and over the top as a lot of other slasher characters were. But as far as looks like just a guy and subtle performances, this is one of the best of that genre. And you get, he talked about, I watched some of the bonus features on the DVD, and he was talking about how he used animalism, which is where you act, but you take the subtle properties of an animal, and he's like, I'm going to use the properties of a peacock, and you see him, looking around like that. And I really like how this is just a normal guy, so he can talk, but he stays silent for most of the movie, and then at the very end he finally talks, and rather than just ruining it, it's actually really creepy, and you're like, what is this guy up to? What is his motivation? You see, he's not just, any old maniac. He has an idea behind what he's doing, and, the thing he says is just, really eerie, and I like that it builds to that, and it builds to a really cool final fight, and, yeah, it's good. Again, doesn't reinvent the wheel. It knows it's a slasher movie, and it does its job really well, really good, really tight. If you're a fan of slashers and you've just seen the big franchise stuff, this is a good place to check out, the extended world of slashers. This and The Burning, stuff like that. But anyway, great movie. I'll do part 2, because part 2 goes in a interesting way that you probably wouldn't have expected. So I'll cover the weird movie that is part 2 soon. But anyway, for everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really help the channel out, and just, hey, thanks for watching this long if you're here. I'll be back with more movies and TV, 95% horror on this channel. Anyway, I'll see you guys again really soon. Have a good day. I'll see you next time.